Welcome back to some professional StarCraft 2. Let me introduce to you the player in the blue in the top right of Ancient Cistern, one of the smartest players in StarCraft 2. The German Zerg. It's Lambo. And the Terran Challenger. On the other side of the map, in the bottom left in the red, we have Bunny. Only one letter off beyond, but such a different playstyle. The timing-oriented Terran. We'll see if he'll be able to take down the creator of the German taxi build and so many more. Or if he's one hop away. Well, another clash between Europe and Korea. Another battle between some of the best players. And another Terran versus Zerg. I actually missed this one. This is from ESL Summer. But I was recommended it specifically. Sometimes the most dramatic and brutal Terran versus Zergs, and I'm going to use that. I didn't watch, but I crunched the numbers. This game and this series has some of the highest resources lost per minute of some of really any of the games I've ever seen. So I don't know exactly what that looks like. SC2 replay stats does a good job of not spoiling me, but I'm excited. So if you like seeing hundreds, maybe thousands of units murdered and, destroyed in quick succession, well, hopefully you like this series and are one of the, Jimmy, 1,079. If we can get 1,079 likes, I'll cast another series. I'm taking recommendations. I usually ignore the recommendations, but put them back here, and eventually we get to them. And I'm excited to find out this one. And also, get it on the ground floor. First 200,000 subscribers will get a prize. And that prize is being recommended in my videos a little more often, hopefully. But thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you've had a good day so far, and hopefully it's about to get a little bit better. As Bunny has poked and prodded with that very first Reaper, not finding very much, but keeping the queens on their many toes. We've been over that detail before, but Lambo, not overreacting, not underreacting, reacting just fine. As the first Reaper and a couple Hellions are something that most players have dealt with for over a decade. So, nothing but a bit of map control for Bunny as he goes for the 3 command centers. The queens underneath the Overlord, split by the grenade there. A very, I don't want to say generic. That has less than that has unfun connotations. A cookie cutter. No, that's not as good either. A well documented. I'll come up with something. Standardized. These all sound boring. Honestly, it kind of is. Seeing 3 CC into Bio-Estim up against a Zerg who's massing up the queens in order to protect enough drones to support a lair? Well, that's how we played Terran versus Zerg. Then again, why would I get upset about the game being standard, about being figured out? Brood War hasn't had a balance patch since before most of the StarCraft 2 champions recently were born, so with TVZ kind of figured out, you get the devil's really in the details, then the execution, the mechanics. And both these players have their own twist on it. We already got Bunny lining up for a very quick, I want to point out a lack of +1. He's just now getting 2 engineering base, but he's getting 2 medevacs first. So his interest, even though he's gone for 3 command centers, is getting those medevacs out on the map and getting the damage done pretty much as soon as possible past that. Whereas Lambo is spreading out the creep. He's got 10, queen number 10 is on the way. Some of them on hatch duty, the rest on home defense, as the creep, spreading aggressively across the map with half a dozen queens working on it. I would hope so, but here comes Bunny. The Marines stimming in. The hatchery is done, cannot be canceled at this point. Oh, target fire, beautiful there. 2 banelings, not remotely enough. Bunny just slices through. And Lambo's 4th hatch is down. Not a critical blow, but definitely not a welcome one for the German Zerg. Not what you want when you're really focused on mass Zergling and Baneling. You need every larva possible, let alone the minerals And gas. Honestly, larva is usually in shorter supply than those things. But Bunny, still, with these... No, the baneling nest is non-negotiable. You can't lose the bane nest. Oh my god. Oh... Well, Lambo doing a great job of saving it with the transfuses. Bunny picking up only the Marines that were at risk from a baneling. Maybe a little greedy there. He's killed 6 drones thus far. Lambo's only at 58. Honestly, losing so many overlords and that 4th hatch, he's supply blocked right now. While the creep has continued to spread somewhat, Bunny has carved out a lot of space for himself when it comes to any sort of follow-up attack. Lambo is not even remotely going to have enough to threaten him and also defend at home, at least for now. There should be a macro hatch on the way. Oh, I love it. Just in the center. So many people will stack all their macro hatches. A nice, well-distributed. Why not? Why not? You're not using it to mine. You can put it wherever you want. We put it right... Okay, maybe that's a good spot. You know, I was going to suggest that's a good spot. I like it. Macro hatch right down the center. Maybe the queens who are creep spreading can come back and inject if they need to, but shouldn't be a major concern. Lambo spending his money well. Bunny, on the other hand, also well. Also great. They're both on top of it so far. Things starting to heat up. 1-1 about to complete for Lambo. +1 already done for Bunny. Siege tank in a good position. Counterattack, though. We're looking at the action here, but the real action is back at home where Bunny didn't actually mineral walk away. It loses 24 SCVs to a devastating counterattack. I said that Lambo wouldn't have enough to defend an attack, but apparently Bunny didn't have anything to defend, which means his attack is much more important now. 24 SCVs is real damage, and Lambo didn't even really lose the Zerglings. They just got in, slaughtered the mineral line, and got out. They got away with it. Meanwhile, here comes Lambo. Banelings from the back. Baneling speed is done. 1-1 on both sides. Marines ducking behind the minerals here. Liberator warding away the queens, but eventually take it down. Ping cushioned. The knitting needle's enough for now, but another round of Lings and Banes, and Bunny loses a medevac and may lose some of... Oh, Brenda! Okay. Well... Zerglings chasing down what's left of the Marine count. +2 infantry weapons is on the way, but Bunny doesn't really have the economy to do much more than that. He's adding Widow Mines in, hoping for maybe a bit of a Hail Mary shot in order to bring himself back into this, as Lambo has re-established map control. The creep is beginning to re-spread. He's got +2 comfortably on the way, and very importantly, or if the game goes on a little bit longer, there's a hive already nearly done. So Lambo is in pole position right now as we get solidly into the mid-game. Both sides with plenty of production. Bunny a little bit down on income, though. So very reliant on zoning out Lambo, kind of feigning strength when he's relatively weak. I'm sure Lambo knows he did real damage, but he can't know how close Bunny is to breaking. So he's going to make sure he has a unit that can test it a little bit better. The Ultralisk Cavern is on the way. Vipers, adrenal glands immediately. All these starting at 10 minutes, even before Bunny has 2-2. Lambo knows how important those late-game upgrades are. The way Zerg can be competitive on the field with the Terran, Bio, Mines, and Medevacs. That is an edge you can use to cut through the Terran. Slice with Ultralisks and overrun with Zerglings, let alone the Vipers, which help crack open the defenses. Bunny trying to stutter step his way in with target fire, ends up losing a lot of his... okay, not too many Marines. It looked worse than it was. Often does with Banelings. Chitinous plating on the way. Adrenal glands nearly done. Overlord speed completed. There is one more Widow Mine trying to draw its fire. Does so. Bunny still keeping up production. He's on a solid 4 bases now. Lambo has 6 hatcheries and counting. Another attack towards the north side. Going to threaten that 12 o'clock hatch. And Widow Mine kills Zerglings and Marines alike. Lambo doing a good job of defusing these mines with relatively minimal damage. Acceptable low. Never mind! Devastating hits. Another volley from the Widow Mines means that now 53 Zerglings went down in that fight, alongside 7 Marines killed by Bunny, which is only slightly more than Lambo killed in the fight. So Widow Mines devastating for both sides. But that means the draw right now, I think a tie in these fights goes to Bunny, who really needs to keep Lambo at least in the middle of the map. As he solidifies his position, he's adding, I assume he has another command center somewhere. He does not. He's kind of locked in to this 4 base, which sounds like a lot, but against Lambo, who's now taking essentially the entire map, he's playing kind of like a campaign AI right now, which is what Lambo's so well. He's just a step ahead. Bunny is going to have to keep fighting an uphill battle, literally and sometimes figuratively. The other way around on that statement, but another set of Banelings. Oh, nope, not Banelings. Or maybe there were Banelings, and now there's just the Overseer who is helping to deal with the Widow Mines. The due diligence on that, by the way, having an Overseer with your counterattacks. So many times, 1 or 2 Widow Mines just blunt counterattacks to the point of being almost useless. But Lambo knows. Oh, Widow Mine dealt with. Bunny's army supply is actually slightly higher. 2-2 for both sides. Another volley of Widow Mines. Gonna connect from downtown. Another chunk taken out. Chitinous plating is done. Ultralists have been revealed. Is the Ghost Academy on the field? No, it is not. Brenda, where are you going? Oh no, the Queens. Slightly off a creep. I mean, most of their work is done. They've been creeping all over the place. So, honestly, I think Lambo's done a great enough job with that. He doesn't need too many queens, though the Ultralists would surely benefit from it. Still, some Widow Mines on the field. Oh, Banelings completing at an inopportune time in the middle of the map up against the ramp. Ultras and Zerglings trying to chew through the rocks, but Bunny is already working his way to the center line hatchery. The medevac count is so damn high. 13 medevacs, Zerglings and Banelings rolling in. The Ultras leading the charge. Or at least sitting by. Another huge group of Marines trying to target down whatever they can, and this Widow Mine hits, and that one definitely connects with the Marines. The medevac count is so high, it's such a big chunk of the army supply, that the actual army is not big enough to prevent 18 SCVs from going down as Lambo overruns the field. Bunny dips to 145. Some of that is SCVs, but he loses the planetary fortress at his fourth. He is going to be finishing up +3 infantry weapons. No ghosts on the way. With no ghosts, he's relying on conventional units here. Ooh, a few more Widow Mines. Thinning out the Zerglings. The Ultras, without too much in front, are easy enough to target down. 15 medevacs, and Bunny's still building them. He's just on autopilot. As the medevac count, if you ever get the time to heal, that's great. But at this point, well, everyone gets their own personal medevac. The parasitic bombs doing terrible, terrible damage. The medevacs have to split. Ultras having trouble in close quarters. Hard for anyone to micro with that many medevacs overhead. +3 infantry armor about to complete. Same with chitinous plating. Joining melee attack at maxed out for Lambo. We're going to be at full upgrades, and neither side is transitioning away from their massed ground units here. Bunny has 14 medevacs with like 4 medevacs of HP between them. One good parasitic bomb could wipe out most of his fleet, and that might not necessarily be a bad thing for him. Some Liberators could definitely help against this Ultralist-based army chewing through parasitic bomb in the midst of everything, but the Marines and Marauders are able to split back and come in with a vengeance. The Stim Stutter Step 6 Marauders on the way at a time. Lambo can't seem to lay down the killing blow on this army. He can't deal with the critical mass of Bio. And right now, he's getting driven back. His buddy continues. He's tearing through the front base and now looking at the third. The macro hatch, the queen, Zerglings at the back. Are there any more Widow Mines inside here? The medevacs still have enough energy targeting down another Ultra. Just a brutal fight. I promised you butchery, and here we are. The Ultra still. He's trying to kite back. I've seen a cinematic about this. It doesn't go great, but he actually ends up getting the Ultra with a great help from that Marauder. Still, so many badly bruised medevacs here. Ultras underneath. This battle has gone on for 3.5 minutes. 20,000 resources lost. And another parasitic bomb. A quick split, but not quick enough, as the medevac is leading the others to their doom. The hatchery taken down. Lambo down to 125 supply, gaining more energy. Back and forth we go. But with only 3 medevacs and almost no energy between them, the Ultra pops out, starts chewing through. Another Ultra. The Zerglings are closing the distance, and there simply isn't the sustainability on this army. Or is there? Is there enough bio? The Queen was targeting down one of the 3 remaining medevacs, and Bunny continues forward yet again. He's gonna hit the stims till he doesn't have enough health left, because if the Ultras are able to close the distance, they will cleave this army to pieces. Widow Mines, a major danger to everyone involved. The Ultra, actually the only unit that isn't particularly afraid of them. The main base has been landed at the 6 o'clock, but Bunny, his foot is on the gas, metaphorically, as most of his units cost only minerals. The battle will wane slightly. 5 minutes without more than a 15-second lull in units lost. That's how this tab works. Something like that. 69 boosts on the medevacs. So far, Bunny's taken the better end of things, but so many units lost. And it's not over. Another Widow Mine hit, a counterattack to the left flank. Lambo takes out 10 SCVs, but Bunny presses the attack forward. The Queens, badly bruised, but still some transfuses. Targets down another medevac. Will Bunny almost loses an orbital, but in come the Marines and Marauders again. Medevacs are out of energy. Marines and Marauders in autumn colors. Ultra's looking for a target. Scramble back to the creep for now. Bio Army moves to intercept on the left flank. Lambo has regrouped, consolidated his forces. He's weathered this attack. One more Widow Mine hit, but that hits the Terrans as well. And Bunny is forced to pick up and evacuate. But again, streaming to the left side. The parade, well, really a trickle of Terran units, targeting down the hatchery. Lambo back down to 4 hatcheries right now. And he has 1,000 minerals in the bank. He has no larva. He can't spend it. He still has 10 queens scattered throughout. Another attack that's going for the hatcheries here as his economy is under threat. What happened to this base? I thought there was an orbital here. I don't know where the main base orbital went. Maybe it went somewhere else. The Ultras are trying to chew through the planetary. Lambo finds the SCVs. It took a moment. But now the Ultras will triangulate the planetary and slice it to pieces. Drones transferring through the battle. One of the most risky mineral walks I've ever seen. But he gets away with it, at least for now. The rest of the drones are going to the top left. Throughout all this, okay, the battle at some point lulled, but Bunny is down to 55 supply. He threw everything into the fray. And now his main command center and about his starting count of SCVs is all that's left. In one of the most conventional, just, I don't know how to describe it. Like, not even, Ultras are barely a tier 3 unit. They're more like a tier 2 plus. Without any real late game units. Maybe a few Vipers in the mix. I guess that made the difference too, with the Vipers and the Ultras. More than the Marines, Marauders, and Mines. Lambo has almost secured victory. But before in this game, remember, Lambo was 40 supply ahead. This is a different 40, 60 supply ahead though. 160 to 120 is very different than 120 to 60. As the Ultras are chewing through. They're inside the house. And they're breaking down the door, and then they just walk out. So that's a little anticlimactic. But where are you going? Come back here, Step Ultra. Oh, Widow Mines being cleaned up. Lambo has resecured mining. The income advantage has been all Lambo for over 10 minutes, and not by a small margin. Bunny's been able to hang on, but he hasn't been able to turn this ship around. Rebuilding queens constantly, there's essentially no income left for Bunny. You may find another hatch, though. We don't mind rebuilding Zerglings in the natural. Don't find any SCVs to kill. 6, 5, And before he GG's, down to 3 SCVs as Lambo is able to overrun Bunny in game 1. A cinematic game, but a brutal one. I keep using that word and it keeps being accurate because just the amount of units. Jimmy made a huge mistake in not showing the units lost tab at the end, but I think somewhere around 1,000 Zerglings, several hundred Marines. Bunny, almost a explicit refusal to go to Ghosts and Liberators, or just feeling like he's one bad fight away from losing, so he can't afford that sort of tech transition. We'll see if he can find his footing in game 2. Go to Dragon Scales. Well, that was exhausting, but we play a best of 5 for a reason. That reason is to guess when Bunny's gonna break out the 2 ranks. As is customary. Well, I'm assuming we'll see one. Lambo, honestly, I don't know if he has any all-ins or cheeses up his sleeve. He did in a straight up just knock down, drag out slugfest. He won. He survived. And he did it. It wasn't easy, but it was pretty decisive, I think, despite that. It was clear that Lambo was ready to play the late game, whereas Bunny was just stalling for time. And sometimes you can turn it around. With the cost efficiency of the M&M, it can make the difference. And it almost did. But Lambo was playing to secure his victory, and Bunny was playing to evade him. So, what does that boat... And Ancient Cistern is the largest map in the map pool. In terms of sheer physical area, it rivals even Ultraless, especially after the... but it does have the most space to send out the Zerglings, to get surrounds, and also to evade your opponent's armies, which, I mean, for any sort of counterattack-oriented Zerg is going to be ideal. Almost every other map, maybe Gresvin is comparable. I think Altitude also pretty large, but Dragon Scales, Neo-Humanity, Babylon. Almost there. Almost got them all. Oh, and Royal Blood. Well, Royal Blood is awesome. You know what? The maps are pretty large. But Dragon Scales is definitely a little more. Are we on the player? I think we're on the Lambo cam here. Based on where we're jumping back and forth. Yeah, you can tell the player cams because you start getting a little dizzy. Because these players are able to see what's on the screen and actually do something about it, probably before you've even realized what you're looking at. And that is just kind of a required skill. And especially for playing Zerg, which has a whole lot of, I not so lovingly say housekeeping tasks, where essentially the queens have to tend to everything. Creep spread, you got inject, overlords, managing drones versus Zerglings or other units, stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff you do that isn't just staring at your army and trying to stutter step your way out of it. It's not particularly flashy, except in the sense of a seizure warning, but it is necessary, and why many players average over 500 APM with Zerg. Is just simply over half of that is making Lings and Banes, spreading creep, and injecting hatchers. Alright. That's enough, though. For now. Overlord gliding in. What is he gonna... Okay, wait, one more time. Back to the Lambo camp. He sees Cloak potentially researching. Now, I say potentially because at any point you can cancel it and get the full money back. You can't cancel the fact that you made a tech lab and are likely going for Banshees. And honestly, Cloak has value, even if it is scouted, just forcing out spore crawlers. There's almost always a spot without detection, and the Banshee is your insurance policy against any sort of roach all in. It can keep tabs on the Zerg in ways that things like Hellions can't, and it is potentially decent for both defense and kill. So. Alright. Oh, this is up. Brenda, look at it. Shoot in the general area. I can't shoot it if I can't see it. Why? Regulations. Alright. It was in the charter. What? You can read? I don't speak to... Baneling Nest on the way. Actually a little late compared to the lair itself, but you don't really need Baneling speed if your opponent is going Banshees early. You don't need it as early, because Banshees, and this is true, are not medevacs. Yeah, they might have energy, they might fly, but there are some distinct differences. Like the fact they shoot at you, among other things. Hellions, lightly searing the hatchery, builds character. Oh, Banshee 1 goes down. Another one able to glide away in time. 1-1, as well as Baneling speed in production. So Lambo filling in those blanks. Bunny, yet again, not focused on the upgrades. I say it like it's bad, but I'm very used to seeing a Terran at least even, if not somewhat ahead on upgrades against Zerg, especially if you're focused on that ground. You're not like rushing for the late game or going mech, for example. He's getting an armory. What? He's getting an armory, has no engineering base. Bunny with one of his trademark timing attacks here. Is that for Hellbats? This is what Bunny is known for. Finding those timings, those tank positionings, and just carving his way through. He hasn't built... He's at 60 SCVs, which is a comfortable enough number. If Lambo finishes 1-1 in Bane speed, he should be more than equipped to deal with this. But until then, this is a real, actual danger here of potentially winning the game. There's still about 30 more seconds. I think Bunny going to be pressing the issue momentarily as combat shield completes. Yep, he's got Hellbats and combat shield. There we go, stims in. Alright, Zerglings at the back. Queen still holding the line. 1-1 not done yet. Siege tanks looking for a target. They don't have to look far, and that's part of the problem as the Lings and Bane close in from all sides. Lambo, even before the upgrades, collapses with effectively a 360-degree flank, overwhelms, and crushes the Terran army. But there's another one. There's another one on the way. Bunny rebuilt at home. He wasn't able to reinforce in time, but he still has a Banshee. He still has plenty of Marines. He kept most of the medevacs, if not all, intact. Marines stutter, stepping their way in, looking for the creep. Lambo setting up for a surround yet again. Army supply is about even. The Zerglings cutting off reinforcements. But a lot of them being gunned down as Bunny pulls back. Oh, this is a very tense situation. He's gonna try to get one of the tanks, but ends up not getting the tank and losing a whole lot of his units. Bunny saves some more on the field. Lambo keeps trying to drag Bunny every which way, but Bunny just sweeping back and forth. Seems to be picking up a lot of kills. Lambo is using every bit of larva and still has some money in the bank. I think what he was doing last game was building extra queens with any money he had after he used all his larva, which is, you know, not a bad choice. There's 2-2 on the way for Lambo. If he's able to finish that, then a huge advantage. Even though Bunny's going for 1-1. Once again, cutting off the reinforcements. Lambo doing such a great job of picking this apart. Bunny, not intimidated. He's still holding quite strong. He has enough Marines to really make the Banelings think twice about whether they want that to be their one attack. One siege tank taken down. Here come the Zerglings yet again. Deja vu, but the Liberators might add a bit of a twist. A little too late inside, though. And the Queens, the Liberator looking the wrong way. The Banshee back at home, but Lambo overrunning the field. Lambo just running his way into the third, and what is left to stop him? He's crushed the army on the field, and now he carries it all the way home. Lambo with some textbook Zerg there. Able to run down every single Marine, to crush the siege tanks, and then take a bite out of the SCVs before Bunny taps out. Beautifully done, Lambo. Some real... I honestly, I love the way Lambo plays. It's very intuitive. It feels like how you're supposed to play Zerg. It's not to insult the other Zergs. It's to compliment Lambo. And maybe slightly insult the other Zergs. I like. But it's so Zerg-like. I don't need to describe it anymore. You know what I mean. He picks apart the attack until he can crush it. Which makes me feel like I'm watching a bit of a campaign mission, to be honest. In the best possible way. Well, we'll see, though. We'll see if Bunny can escape his clutches or if Lambo ends with a 3-0 decisive victory. Honestly, I'm already impressed. Bunny, you can tell his style just from these games. He has these break points, these inflection points where his strength is like essentially he's powered up for a short time. He's got now, at the same time, he's got siege tanks in position, Hellbats, and Marines with combat shield. Those all coming online within about 20 seconds of each other. And that all before Lambo had any of his upgrades. That was supposed to be the time. That was supposed to be the time that Bunny powered through. But Lambo did not let him. He drove him back and eventually crushed him. So, 2-0 to the German Zerg. You can see why he's considered one of the smartest. I don't think Bunny's out of this yet. Honestly, any of these attacks, so many of these fights, 1 or 2 bad angles from Lambo. If he hadn't attacked from 3 angles, but only attacked from 2, I know, right? But he's acutely aware of how important that is. Oh my. Bunny walks out of his base just to kill the space chicken. Who hurt you? The space chicken cartel, of course. There was a lot of foul play. Moving on. Zerglings. They consult with the space chicken on the way. Kindred spirits. Realize that those Marines deserve death, but unfortunately the Zerglings are not able to bring it quite yet. As Bunny has this time opted for an early reactor and only Marines. What are we gonna see now? Cloaked Banshee. Yeah, I don't think Cloaked Banshees were a bad idea last time. They rarely are. But they're relatively expensive. They do delay almost everything else. So, if you're only... He did actually get a cancel on the 3rd base, which was quite a lot for one Banshee to accomplish. Or the 4th base, rather. Quite a lot for one Banshee to accomplish, but... it was well done, but he wasn't able to follow it up in time. So what do you change? Babylon is quite a difficult map to execute an early tank push. Mid-game tank pushes, on the other hand, towards a 4th base, much better. But there isn't a particularly great angle that can't be much more easily, even than Dragon Scales. Try to attack down the center. There's really no angle on the 3rd that isn't going to be easily surrounded by a well-prepared Zerg. You can maybe try to come in from the left side here, but that opens up you to a counterattack through the center. And, I mean, if Lambo was ready on Dragon Scales, he's going to be ready here. This is more defensible on your 3 bases, to say the least. 3rd Command Center is on the way for Bunny. He's not tying himself to 2 bases. And Lambo a little late on the spores. The Cloak Banshee. He is coming as a surprise. Yeah, looks like he realizes. You gotta use the dark method, which is just let him kill your workers while you're still mining, because they're probably going to die anyways. So even if you lose 1 more worker, you still get the income. I'm sometimes impressed by how little Dark cares about any of his units. And then, simultaneously, is the most efficient with them. Lambo has made a lot of calculated trades throughout this series. He hasn't... Oh, another Banshee wanders in. Never mind. On that point, I wasn't sure where it was going anyways. And neither do the Banshees. Neither are... The Banshees are also not sure. Yes, that makes sense. All right. Either way, Banshee's doing pretty well. As long as they stay alive here. The threat of Banshees is almost as good as the Banshees themselves. Obviously, you'd love to kill as many workers as possible, but you got to tie those queens at home in order to make sure that, well, 1, they're not spreading the creep at maximum speed. 2, that any potential follow-up attack has a higher likelihood of being successful. Because if the Banshees are able to tie the queens, say, into the main, well, then there aren't as many queens at the front. That's simple math. Lambo actually a little supply blocked here. It does have 6 OVs on the way, trying to alleviate it. Gets one of the Banshees yet again. Wow. But he scanned to clear some creep, and the result is he loses a Banshee and gets like 1 creep tumor. So not ideal there. But here comes the timing. And, oh, okay. Huge difference this game. I pointed it out, I highlighted it, because it was so important in the previous matches, and it continues to be. But this time, Bunny has won 1 over almost a minute, maybe over a minute quicker than Lambo at this point. That is a big deal. That means 1, Bunny is gunning for the later game, at least 2, the upgrades. And 2, the fights are going to get much harder for Lambo than we previously saw. This time, it should be 1-1 up against 0-0 as opposed to even at 0. Mainling speed is finishing at exactly the same time as 1-1. Combat shield is a long way off. So that is a bit concerning for this army. But the damage output is going to be quite high. Here comes Lambo. Not a particularly dramatic setup for the surround. He picks up. The Marines are chewing into the Zerglings. And Bunny... Well, the only time that the combat shield matters is if your Marines get hit. Pro tip. Lambo not able to set up the surround. Not able to get the critical mass of Zerglings he needs. There's even a few Tectoboys here. The SCV is ready for repair or whatever else. Lambo optimistically expanding. A much more committed surround here. But the Marines are able to gun down many of the Zerglings before they close the distance. Bunny just swinging back and forth. He loses a couple siege tanks. The SCVs are chasing down the Queen, but the Marines are cutting through. Targets down every Banelings, and just with that, slices through Lambo into a victory, putting him on the board in just 8 minutes in Game 3. All right, Bunny, hopping to life. That was so important. Bunny, I don't know if he's underestimating or he just, he diagnosed the issue being those upgrades as, I can't stress, I'm not a mathematician, but Marines shoot real fast, especially with their drugs. I mean, their stim, but, and with the +1 being applied on every single one of those shots against Zerglings that don't have any upgrades, I'm not sure how the math works out, but I know the combined damage output of like 20 Marines against 40 Zerglings, the amount of less shots it takes to kill even things like Banelings, is quite dramatic. Let's see, Marines have 7 base damage. A Baneling has 30 HP. With Baneling speed, it's 35. 5 shots. Okay, it's the same amount to kill Banelings, but Zerglings have 35. You know what? I'm not here to do math. I'm here to say that upgrades are important. If you want to do math, go play EVE Online or something. It's about in practice. It feels so much better to have those Marines with upgrades. I'm very surprised that Bunny prioritized getting Hellbats over upgrades on Dragon Scales. But here we are. And now on Gresvin. So, Lambo, sticking with the hatch first. I don't think you worry too much about that if you're Lambo. A few more Zerglings early. A little more preparation on the flanks. And you can tie it all together. But Bunny should take a bit more confidence, as he was just using outdated tools in the matches before, and now when he's able to get even or better, looks good. And the target fight was on point. Micro's great. He gave himself the ability to take that game. Let's see where we go from here. Big fan. Not opting for any huge barracks plays since game 1. But instead, another factory. I imagine a starport after. Not a very huge, like, dramatic imagination, but still. 2 more command centers in the production tab, so you got an idea where this is going. We do have command center, orbital. There's the starport, Lambo, adding queens. 3rd hatchery, Zergling speed on the later side. So that way he had the minerals to get his 3rd hatch a bit earlier. What do you change? Is it time for the battlecruiser game? A Viking! Wow, Bunny, with each game getting a little more and more macro-oriented. Lambo staying almost exactly the same. The Viking, clearing out overlords. A relatively rare sight nowadays, as many players don't want to leave themselves vulnerable to a sort of roach haul-in. Or something like that, by not getting a Banshee. Or, in some cases, a battlecruiser. He's going to get a Viking and then a Liberator. So, I think he's somewhat confident at this point in how Lambo's going to play it. He also saw the Evo Chamber at the Natural. That Evo Chamber indicating Lambo has also diagnosed upgrades as very important. Wait, did he... He canceled the Evo and made a Baneling Nest. Or maybe he made the Evo to dodge the Hellions. You know what? I choose to believe he's trying to do a big brain strat and I didn't just miss something. Alright, I like that better. That makes more sense to me. Viking just got its first Overlord kill. As not too many Zerg players will have their Overlord spread out for exactly this reason. Maybe later in the game once you get Overlord speed, but... tucking them back in towards the base as safe as they can be against plundering Vikings. Queen needling the Viking, though I think the Viking killed it. Oh my god, beautiful grenade. Gonna try to slice through with the Hellions and then just drives right back. Finds the 4th. Bunny starts as +1. Liberator actually finds a nice angle here. Lambo's a bit supply blocked. Liberator ends up going down to the queens. 11 drones on the way, but Lambo, I'd argue a little late. A little late on his Evo chambers here. Is going to leave him with some severely delayed. It might be the right timing for his gas, but once again, Bunny's going to have the 1-1 upgrades in a significantly more timely manner. And that can make all the difference. 1-1 starts. Yeah, not nearly as much as last game. It's going to be 30 to 45 seconds. He can work with that, but not a huge deficit. And Lambo, despite all of this pressure, all of this constant poking and prodding, he's at 70 drones. He's got his 4th base already done. Working on Number 5, yeah. The macro hatch in the center of the map. I still really like that. All right. Now, with 2 medevacs on the way, combat shield +1/+1. Brenda! No! Why are you out here? Oh, no. Well, somehow the queen lives, actually, because the Zerglings come in for the save. But Baneling speed, Bunny really looking to slice through with this exact timing. He's got 1/1 combat shield. He's got the medevacs. He's bringing everything. Lambo taking it very serious, building a whole lot of Zerglings. He's already got 60 on the field, morphing some into Banes. This is up against 23 Marines, 3 siege tanks, handful of Hellions. Combat shield done. All right, we'll see what Bunny can get done here. There are 9 queens as well. Baneling speed completed. That saves the majority of the Marines and sacrifices a few on the altar of Baneling. Hellion still keeping control of the creep. Bunny not able to cut through with the 1/1 timing. Does he have an armory? No. He's just adding more barracks. Bunny loves his timing attacks so much. No armory. He's not adding, he's like 1/1, but that's it. Lambo, on the other hand, a very different school of thought. Literally, the second that 1/1 finishes, starts 2/2. So, there's the armory from Bunny. I don't know if it was a mistake or the intent, but either way, he's at 7 barracks now? Yeah, 7 barracks before armory. So his 2/2 will be much further behind. But there's a big window now, where Bunny's at full production and Lambo is still investing in the future. Wow, what a drawn-out tank push in the center choke point here. Lambo trying to come in from all sides. Baneling split between them. But the Zerglings are simply not enough. Lambo making the call to pull back. And I think he did just in time before the losses mounted too high. If you gotta pull back as Zerg, you gotta do it quickly. Otherwise, the Terrans will take many more than a pound of flesh on the way out. But Bunny steps into the most dangerous position for Zerg to deal with on the map. The little low ground valley in between the 4th and the 5th base here. Lambo setting up once again for the 3-pronged surround. Banelings rolling in. The siege tanks doing a great job. The Marines are mostly off a creep. The Banelings not quite closing the distance. The Zerglings not enough, and Bunny stands his ground where he can, trades out where he can't. It ends up with a decisive victory in that fight. Another round of Banelings rolling in on creep, with the siege tanks and reinforcements. The medevacs were allowed to heal, and Bunny clawing through. A dramatic fight, but Lambo just simply did not have enough to challenge Bunny in that position. And he ends up losing his 3rd. And with it, I think the game is very much in doubt. A couple Liberators going to add to the confusion and make it that much more difficult. Baneling's chasing down a few Marines, but GG. And Bunny has tied things up. We're going to game 5. Ooh. An exhausting series. And appropriately. So Bunny does get 1/1. And he does shove his tanks into that position on the map. He is respecting Lambo's ability to set up those surrounds. He took it very serious, but Lambo just did not have enough. He wasn't able to get any sort of meaningful counterattack, and the fight on the field didn't cut it either. So, that means Bunny now with 2 in a row. Has he taken back the momentum? Or can Lambo shore it up in time? Let's find out. In game 5. Royal Blood. So what maps does that mean that were vetoed? Altitude and Neo-Humanity. Probably Altitude vetoed by Bunny, and then Neo-Humanity by Lamp. Maybe the other way around. Honestly, I don't know. Depends. We've seen players like Dark handle Neo Humanity very well. But it's also a tough map to deal with a defensive Terran. But Bunny is anything but a defensive Terran. We haven't seen a single ghost in this series. No Thors, no Blue Flame Hellbats, though there was that odd Hellbat game. And for Lambo, we haven't seen any Lurkers, no Infestors, only a handful of Vipers, though very, very effective Vipers, so. What is this drone doing? Oh, he's hiding from the Reaper for his third. Is it gonna work? Yeah, he comes back. He's not hiding by the gases, because Reapers will, if you're checking for the third, players will check for that, because it's so common to hide next to the gases, so that way you can pop in there to dodge the Reaper. But, little details. Lambo. Oh! Get off my lawn! Reaper is taken out. 2 command centers behind. Been a great series thus far. I don't know what to expect. This is actually seeing them kind of evolve. Pun somewhat intended as the series goes on, but still sticking to their roots. Like Lambo, very macro oriented, always looking for the next step. What? Why? He killed the Reaper, which means there's no more scouting easily. Which means that Bunny, who didn't even see the third, but Bunny is going 3 racks. Oh no, the Zerglings. The Banelings are finishing. A Baneling bust. Lambo for the first time goes not full back row 3 hatch. But now the Banelings and the door is open already. He busts right in. It's a disaster for Bunny. He waited until game 5. But now the Zerglings are inside the base. The Zerg rush is in full swing. And the Terrans are being wiped out. 10 SCVs. There's nothing left. It's already over. The games got shorter as the series went on. And Lambo pinpointed. He killed the Reaper. And I think, like, better than even chance, that triggered this. Without the Reaper, he suspected the continued reactored Marines, which means no Hellions, which means no Banshee, which means no way to stop the Zerglings and Banelings. Lambo waits until game 5. And even then, oh my god, I think a combination of priming Bunny to expect the macro 3 hatch and also seizing the opportunity after killing the Reaper. But Bunny doesn't let it go late. He just busts his way in and he takes the series right back. It's gonna be 3-2 Lambo. A good old-fashioned back and forth Terran versus Zerg. I hope you enjoyed. I certainly did. I hope I made your day a little bit better. And I hope you'll tune in next time. Jimmy, how many? 1,079 likes. Cast another series. Taking recommendations as well. But thank you for watching. See you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.